Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Beehive State, which is also known as Utah. And today's date, Tuesday, October 6th, 2015. Yeah, it's going to be late Tuesday. Pretty cool, mellowed, 57 degrees in Roy City, to be exact. I know my fellow brothers and sisters down in South Florida envy me for it once again. That's okay. I'll be heading down there real soon to enjoy the heat and all that in the water as well. So, I was just checking on examining some of the rhetoric, the news, and some talk shows, podcasts, and people on Facebook, all talking about what happened in Umpqua Community College in Oregon. It's called Richland. I think it's called Richland. I could be mistaken, but let's go south of Portland, to be exact. And, of course, you got people on Facebook that talking about licensing firearms and tougher gun laws, plus all the good stuff that's trying to bring back the old methods once again on saying licensing is not infringement. Well, this is really absurd in good faith. Because the whole thing you're seeing right now is Mind Control 101, Ed Benet's playbook of propaganda. Without further ado, I remembered one gentleman by the late William Cooper, and I had the opportunity to read his book, Behold the Pale Horse. However, there's one group from the Rundown Live, which they're on Truth Frequency Radio, and they're one of my followers, and I hear their shows now and then. They're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's Mike Pazzini and Kristen T. Harris. Did a nice, cool little article about mass shootings, and which will be about William Cooper. It says here, William Cooper predicted the rise in school shootings in his book, Behold a Pale Horse. Good little article. And I'm going to add my views on here and other intellectual ammunition as well. And it says here about Cooper predicted Fast and Furious along with ties between mass shooters and psychotropic drugs. Kristen T. Harris wrote this. It says here, author, broadcaster, and former Naval Intelligence Officer William Cooper has predicted many events which have come to fruition in recent years, making him one of the more accurate philosophers of his era. In his book, Behold a Pale Horse, published in 1991, William Milton Cooper painted a picture of a government willing to manufacture, use any catastrophic event to further a global agenda to destroy America's sovereignty by confiscating our guns. In chapter 12 of his book, Behold a Pale Horse, Cooper goes on to warn us of a rise in school shootings in order to justify stricter gun laws. He believed the government was willing to encourage importation of firearms for criminals to use in order to accomplish this agenda. This later became Eric Holder's Fast and Furious scandal. The government encouraged the manufacture and importation of firearms for criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarm themselves by passing laws against firearms, using drug and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion. The CIA inculcated the desire in these people to often open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame this anti-gun lobby. This plan is well underway, and so far it's working perfectly. The middle class is begging government to do away with the Second Amendment. The author, that's what his quote he said, the author also tied in the usage of psychoactive and or psychotropic drugs with mass shootings. All mass shooters are some form of mind-altering drugs, and some even have bizarre ties to odd military programs. There's some links on here too, you can check it out in red. Cooper in his broadcast hour of the time warned about 9/11 and named Osama bin Laden by name. He went on to provide evidence and expose the government's complacency and inability to find Osama bin Laden leading up to the days of September 11th, 2011. Whatever is going to happen, they're going to blame on Osama bin Laden. Don't you even believe it? Another social illusion, social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world social totalitarian government. Can you believe what they're saying for a while? That Timothy McVeigh, the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the Defense Intelligence Agency cannot find Osama bin Laden in the wildest dreams, but Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols could. That's a question mark. And recruit him to be their partners in blowing up the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. How stupid can you be? These guys didn't have a nickel between them. Although William was very accurate on many of his political predictions, he was also known for his fringe belief in UFOs, which he rebuked. Near the end of his life, he believed that the UFO conspiracy is being used to cover up a real top-secret government aircraft program. Listen to the Behold Appear Host Remastered for free, which run down live an hour at a time. And there's a remastered version, and it's interesting. I would recommend people to examine it, audio, or get the book. You can just type in WilliamCooper.com or check some unusual bookstores, even the mainstream bookstores like Deseret or possibly Barnes & Nobles may have them. Because even after his death, his books are just hitting the shelves, which is pretty interesting. I bought my book in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at Bob's News off of Andrews Avenue. I think it's between 7th Street and Davie Boulevard, right in between there. It's right near a hospital. You can't miss it if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area. So it is remastered. I heard a great amount of it. I'm going to have to hear the rest of it again, but it's real good, real clean. And I did favorite it on Twitter, and I did pass it out on my Facebook page and all that too, so people could take a chance of observing what he has to say. But it's interesting when he talked about massive school shootings is going on a frenzy. What you have to observe is the over reruns, exploitation, trying to get people entrapped. Okay, happened with Oklahoma City. Anything they want to hype up, that they want to really get you be convincing. September 11, 2001 was a fantastic example. It was on every channel in the cable network, including MTV, History Channel, Nickelodeon, etc., Cartoon Network. It was on every news channel, playing the same old thing over and over and over again to get you hypnotized that you can't be safe, and they have ideas to give up your freedom for their bogus security, which is also known as tyranny. And they're trying to do this again with many of the shootings, including what happened at the community college in Oregon. Why is that? Why are people talking about it? That's one of the things folks got to realize. You got to know the enemy and how they try to brainwash every single one of us. However, many a good handful are fighting back without being screaming and yelling, being overzealous, but being strategic, methodical, and looking at every cringe on what happened over there. And what is interesting, because you hear him going to be pushing for more gun control laws, all these shootings, but truth of the matter is how accurate it really is. That's one thing you have to really pay attention to. But Cooper, I heard some of his archives. And I remember one gentleman, he's been a local band called Level 9, told me about it. And I do have to thank him for that, because I've always been questioning the New World Order and the stage events and so forth. This is why I'm have to be thinking critically in good faith. Gotta be methodical. You have to have that Sun Tzu material in you. Sons of the Art of War, to be exact. That's what they're doing it on us. But this is like mainly what they want us to do, to live in fear and have us a guilt trip and things. There's a lot of things I've been seeing in this video, which I'm going to add it to my footnotes when I get there a little bit later. It is a lot more than they want you to believe. So, without that, let me go into another article pertaining to this, which came from Breitbart. Okay. Breitbart, to be exact. And came out October 2nd by Pamela Geller. And, William Cooper talked about the United Nations as well. But we'll continue on here. On Wednesday, Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced at the United Nations that her office would be working in several American cities to form what she calls Strong Cities Network. Why the hell she has to go to the United Nations? Hey, look at that. Another UN stooge, I would say. So, and it says here, oh yeah. Okay, hold on here. Let me get this back. Yeah, I was just checking something out here. Yep, so it says here, on Wednesday, Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced at the United Nations that her office would be working in several American cities to form what she called the Strong City Network, a law enforcement initiative that would encompass the globe. Oh, yeah. Alright, it says here, what she wrote, this amount to nothing less than overriding American laws up and including the United States Constitution in favor of United Nations laws that would henceforth be implemented in the United States itself without any consultation of Congress at all. The United Nations is a Sharia complaint world body, and Obama speaking there just days ago insists that violent extremism is not exclusive to Islam, which it is. That's just an opinion. I'm not gonna go Muslim Islam bashing either. It's like a scapegoating fetish. However, I'll continue on here. Obama redefined jihad terror to include everyone but the jihadists. Everyone is struggling, okay? So will the UN, driven largely by Sharia Enforcing Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, and pro-Islamic post-American President Obama, use a global police force to crush counter-jihad forces. After all, with Obama knowingly aiding al-Qaeda forces in Syria, how likely is it that he will use global police force against actual Islamic jihadists? I suspect that instead this global force will use to impose the blasphemy laws under the Sharia Islamic law, and to all the Christians' criticism of Islam for the president who proclaimed that the future must not belong to those who slander the prophet of Islam. Good grief, man. It's like, Pamela. She has this Islamic fetish, It's like, yeah, it's all the Muslims' fault. Come on, you gotta be a little bit more detailed than that, my friend. Let's continue on. What is the global force doing in our cities is exactly what the abdication of American sovereignty that I warned about my book, Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administration War in America. The Department of Justice made it clear that it was exactly when it's disturbed a press release last week announcing the launch of Strong Cities Network to strengthen communities' resilience against violent extremism. How come could we go after the Department of Homeland Security and the ATF about violent extremism? In that press release, the DOJ complained that while many cities and local authorities are developing innovative responses to address this challenge, no systematic efforts are in place to share experiences, pool resources, and build a community of cities to inspire local action on a global scale. So if the local municipal effort to encounter the euphemistic or insidious violent extremism is inadequate and hasn't developed a systematic efforts are in place to share experiences, pool resources, and build a community of cities to inspire local action on a global scale. So you could say, hey, we can just say, kiss the 10th Amendment goodbye, or, Bill of Rights culture. The feds and the UN have to step in. Thus, the groundwork is being laid for federal international interference in reference down to the local level. Strong Cities Network, Lynch and Clear, will serve as a vital tool to strengthen capacity building and improve collaboration, i.e. local dependence on federal and international authorities. So they're saying that the local community can't take care of themselves. They're going to have these goofballs over centralization, I would say. Talking about the New World Order. Oh, yeah, another Aunt Jemima to the New World Order, just like Hillary Clinton and what's that other clown's name? Allegedly, Sarah Palin, what everyone's so fascinated with at times. I don't know why. It's like, come on, don't believe the hype, my friends. And we'll continue on. Lynch made the global, the United Nations involvement clear, which she added, as we continue to counter a range of domestic and global terror threats, this innovative platform will enable cities to learn from one another, to develop best practice, and to build social cohesion and community resilience here at home and around the world. The internationalist character was brought to the fore by the fact that the Strong Cities Network was launched on September 29th, not at the White House or the Department of Homeland Security or at the FBI headquarters or anywhere else that might be fitting for a national project, but at the United Nations. Can we say Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution? Attorney General Lynch, another stooge as usual. Even more ominously, the DOJ press release said that the Strong Cities Network will strengthen strategic planning and practice to address violent extremism in all forms by fostering collaboration among cities, municipalities, and other subnational authorities. Subnational International, then press release that quotes Governor Mayor Steinberger Roseland of Oslo, Norway, a participant in the Strong Cities Network, saying, to counter violent extremism, we need determined action at all levels of governance to succeed, but we must coordinate our efforts and cooperate across borders. The Strong Cities Network will enable cities across the globe pool our resources and knowledge and best practices together, and thus leave us standing stronger in the fight against one greatest threat to modern society. Can we say, God bless the New World Order, imperialism is the only way? Oh yeah, of course they want you to believe that. But what is the greatest threat exactly? Remember, the DOJ press says that the CSN will address violent extremism in all forms. It also say that it will aid initiatives that are working towards building social cohesion and resilience to violent extremism. Building social cohesion is a euphemism for keeping peace between non-Muslim and Muslim communities, mostly by making sure that non-Muslims don't complain too loudly about, much less work against. rapidly expanding Muslim populations and the Islamizations of their communities. The DOJ press had noted at that launch, the Strong Cities Network welcoming remarks were offered by the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights, Prince Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein, and Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City. The involvement of New York City's Marxist internationalist mayor is yet another warning sign. Assert American sovereignty and individual rights. Contact your representatives now. Exhort them to oppose NCN now. Exhort them to keep America free where it still is. Well, that's Pamela Gallagher from the American Freedom Defensive Initiative. I believe I'm correct. I know who she is. And sometimes there's a little game of Pablo's dog theory in good faith, allegedly. But I could be mistaken. But when you see what's going on here, it's more of an international cohesive unit. And they're going to use the Muslims as pawns. So anyone who has an Islamic faith better be paying attention, including everyone else. Doesn't matter what your faith is. They want us to be the pawns, fight amongst each other, and they can rule over us. And look at that clown, Mayor Bill de Blasio, New York City. He supports it. Another butt boy. And Prince Zeid Ra'ad Hussein, okay? It's like two birds of the same feather flock together. Please. I'm not going to go Muslim bashing for one, but I know the New World Order, the One World Government, or the Order wants to use people. This is what you have to really pay attention, my dear friends out there. A lot bigger than what it is. And this is how I see it. There's even claims, I would say allegedly, that the Roman Catholic Church created Islam. That's a claim. I'm not trying to here be sacrilegious whatsoever. Something we have to really think about. And I recommend, too, people read Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution. Who approved this? Did Congress approve this? Did have Loretta Lynch speak? Or remember a time when President Barack Obama was the chairman for the UN Security Council? And people say, oh, that's okay. You know, like all these Obamanoids that say, oh, well, that's okay. You know, like they're one-dimensional. Police state's okay as long as we got a Democrat as president. And other way around. So that's why I have to look at all angles. And the truth of the matter is, there's even Republicans in there as well. Sell those souls to the one world order. A good example, I bullhorn Rick Perry on that. How's it feel being a bend over Bob to the New World Order? Well, some of his supporters didn't like it. Why don't they tell me, shut up? You know what? I was inspired. I'm going to have to do a little more research on the Strong Cities Network myself. But I know one thing, I'm not buying this hype or hoopla whatsoever. And I'm not even a Republican. I don't even read Breitbart. Once in a while I do. Like I always tell people, always observe responsibly. So something to think about, because what I'm doing here with the school shootings and all that is all coexisting with one another. Alright? And speaking of that, there's a video out on the Oregon shooting compilation. Comprehensive breakdown reveals what's really going on. A gentleman named Scott Weiselman that put this out. And it's like the latest update came out today. It's 1 minute long, but each compilation examines everything on what they believe the Oregon shooting was a complete hoax, you know? Like, if something's not right, it may be another false flag, allegedly. But when I examine some of the video itself, I have a lot of questions. So, why is that? It's like you're going to hire all these Hollywood shooters, and of course, there was a time that drills did happen. And even in the video, some people reported they haven't heard any shots. No gunshots. So, something's not right. and everyone played little Pablo's dog train, being first down, lined up and all that, like little prisoners. But I'd like you to watch that video and judge for yourself. And it was interesting too, because even there was a claim that the Umpqua Community College was not a firearm-free zone based on Oregon state laws. Even if I'm correct, Think Progress talked about that. I did correct the gentleman, because there may be some certain laws, but there is a interesting loophole in there that the certain institutions can make this difference. And going through some of the research there, they claim that they attest, and then I went a little further, took the initiative to verify, and it's right here. I got it right in front of me. It's about safety, about Umpqua Community College safety and security information, which you go to Umpqua, which is UMPQUA.edu, and is under safety and security information. And this is supposed to be their policy. It says here, Umpqua Community College is considered to be safe and secure place for higher learning. We want everyone else to be safe and secure. Please familiarize yourself with our safety and security information. It may help you or someone you know. Well, this is under dangerous devices, and it says here, possession, use, or threaten use of firearms. Remember, possession, use, or threaten use of firearms, including but not limited to BB guns, air guns, water pistols, and paint guns, ammunition, explosives, dangerous chemicals, or any other objects as weapons on college property, except as expressly authorized by law or college regulations, is prohibited. So, that's just part of it. Okay? Part of it. It's just letting you know that that college is a firearm-free zone. And unfortunately, I goofed. I should have had that person's name on Think Progress who wrote the article. I did send him this link to verify it was a mistake. And I don't know if I haven't heard his reply yet, but that's not my problem. Just letting you guys know that it was a firearm-free zone. And I like what it says here, but don't be a victim. Use your security and safety provided. 24-hour patrol and protection services. First aid station, jumpstart battery pack for your use. Personal safety escort services. Victim avoidance information, lost and found property items. And I like what it says here as well. Please remember, lock your vehicles and keep all valuables out of sight. Walk in groups when possible. Walk in well-lit areas. Always be aware of your surroundings. Have keys ready before you arrive at your vehicle. Don't look like a victim. Walk briskly with confidence. Report all suspicious activities to the security office at 541-440-7777. Well, the truth of the matter is, it did not happen with the so-called shooter. So that's some of the stuff I have to examine. I'm not really too keen. So, let's gonna go around here on tap wires. Someone sent this out about violent crime. It says here, violent crime in America dropped 51% as Americans bought 170 million guns. This is by Jack Hammer. I don't know if that's his real name, but that's okay. New data from the FBI and ATF was presented by the National Rifle Association, which show that Americans have purchased 170 million new guns since 1991. As a result, violent crime has not skyrocketed as communist gun grabbers Democrats would like to believe. It said the violent crimes has plummeted a whooping 51%. It is according to the NRA, but actually, it says here with sources, BATFE firearms commenced in the U.S. Annual Statistical Update of 2015. So, interesting, 51% violent crime has decreased, according to that BATFE source. So, NRA may have its pros and cons. And of course, I hear people talk smack about them, but you know what? I'm not even worried. But like I said, I am not a member. I was a member for a while, but I see some of their cons as well. But I will network with NRA members on a few topics, and I do that in good faith. And I always tell them, read your bylaws. It says here the NRA's number square with findings from the Congressional Research Service study covering the slightly shorter period from the time from 1994 to 2009. For those years, CRS found that Americans purchased approximately 118 million firearms, and the 1993 firearms-related murder and non-negligent homicide rate of 6 per 100,000 to 3.6 per 100,000 by the year 2000. It will eventually fell all the way to 3.2 per 100,000 in 2011. There's links on here too, so you can check it out yourselves. It says then in 2009, the year the CRS study ended, Obama took office and gun sales began their climb to record levels, who made covering the gap between the 118 million guns that had been purchased by 2009 and 170 million new guns that Americans would own by 2015. An easy gap to bridge, Hawkins said. Hawkins added, gun production has more than doubled during the Obama administration alone. Knowing the Marxist sentiment of the usurper-in-chief on Black Friday 2014 witnessed the FBI counting an average of 3 unconstitutional backgrounds per second. Interesting. Want the best of all, type all in one spot. Nope, don't worry about that. Back in 2013, I wrote an address to the issue of gun and violent crime, especially in the light of Sandy Hook shooting. The Obama administration was attempting to deceive the American people that our AR-15 was an assault weapon instead of a semi-automatic weapon, was incredibly dangerous for the American people to own because of mass shootings. In a particular article, which is on link here, I broke the FBI's CIUS report, in which provides statistics nationwide on homicide and violent crime. I know that the number of murders was down by 1,500 from 2007, and that it was without any new anti-gun laws or assault weapons bans. One of these things gun grabbers fail to do is to pinpoint problem areas, such as a large metropolitan areas that have some of the strictest gun laws, yet have incredibly large amounts of crime. As these statistics show, an armed citizenry spend more time stopping evil people rather than contemplating their evil. So there's a lot of statistics on here. Of course, we still have liars and propagandists like Michael Bloomberg, useful idiots, Shannon Watts. And it's interesting about the whole statistics here. Let's just check that out, see what it has to say. From Freedom Outpost, came out in 2014. Like I always say, observe responsibly. So, a little interesting stuff here, but you guys can look it up yourselves. I think it's pretty cool, and I just get a big kick out of some of these people talking about licensing and all that. It really, it's disappointing too, you know. Looks like some folks are just changing their tune as well. But it's like I said, it has its pros and cons. And when it comes to firearm rights, I want people should be train, educate, learn your tools, and always have a higher standard. Be responsible. Don't just go on and just carry like you never used it before. That's like having the kid play with the lawnmower and get their fingers cut, on the blade where I was on. Pretty similar. But so I've been hearing stuff about that, about licensing, and I gotta tell people on Facebook. I'm just repeating myself, and forgive me on that. But I'm just gonna go a little overview on here. I'm on the Second Amendment, which is from constitutionlaws.com. And, of course, how them and the Ninth Amendment go hand in hand. But I want to use the Second Amendment first. So it says here, Second Amendment, right to bear arms. And it goes here, what is the Second Amendment? There are two principal versions of the Second Amendment. One version was passed by Congress, while the other is found in the copies distributed to each individual state and later ratified by them. As passed by the Congress, a well-rigged militia being necessary to secure a free state. The right of the people right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. As ratified by the states, a well-regulated militia necessary to secure a free state, the right of the people the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So that's on the state level as well. And the Second Amendment defined. The Second Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, the framework allocated upon the freedoms of the individual. The Bill of Rights were proposed and sent to the states by the first session of the first Congress. They were later ratified on December 15th, 1791. The first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution was introduced by James Madison as a series of legislative articles and came into effect as the constitutional amendments following the process of ratification by 3/4 of the states on December 15th, 1791. Stipulations of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects the right of the individual to keep and bear arms. The right to arm oneself is viewed as a personal liberty to deter undemocratic or oppressive governing bodies from forming and to repel impending invasions. Furthermore, the right to bear arms was instituted within the Bill of Rights to suppress insurrection and participate and uphold the law, enable the citizens of the United States to organize a militia to facilitate the natural right of self-defense. Okay, natural right of self-defense. The Second Amendment was developed as a result of the tyrannous rule of the British Parliament. Colonists were often oppressed and forced to pay unjust taxes at the hand of the unruly Parliament. As a result, the American people yearned for the amendment that would guarantee them the right to bear arms and protect themselves against similar situations. The Second Amendment was drafted to provide for the common defense and the general welfare of the United States through the ability to raise and support militias. Court cases tied into the Second Amendment. In the District of Columbia versus Heller, the Supreme Court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm to use for traditionally lawful purposes, such as defending oneself within their homes or on their property. The court case ruled that the amendment was not connected to service in a militia. Controversy. The gun debate in the United States widely revolves around intended interpretation of the Second Amendment. Those who support gun rights claim that the Founding Fathers developed and subsequently ratified the Second Amendment to guarantee the individual rights to keep and bear arms. Those who want stringent gun laws feel that the Founding Fathers directed this amendment solely to the formation of militias and are thus, at least by theory, archaic. State timeline ratification of the Bill of Rights. Of course, New Jersey, November 20th, 1789, rejected Article 2. Maryland, December 19th, approved all. North Carolina, December 22nd, 1789, approved all. South Carolina, January 19th, 1790, approved all. New Hampshire, January 25th, 1790, rejected Article 2. Delaware, the 28th, 1790, rejected Article 1. New York, February 17, 1790, rejected 2. Pennsylvania, March 10, 1790, rejected 2. Article 2. Rhode Island, June 7, 1790, rejected Article 2. Vermont, November 3rd, 1791, approved all. Virginia, December 15th, 1791, approved all. So this is really interesting because it's on the ratification of the Bill of Rights. I think there were like 12 articles in there, and very interesting. But it was over majority of 75% of even the State of the Union that said okay, they approved it. But a lot of folks are trying to use the licensing, okay, and say, oh, it's not an infringement. Well, I read a couple of things on there what a fringe means, and we'll go each one by steps here. And first one is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and it says here, infringe means to do something that does not obey or follow a rule of law, etc., chiefly U.S. 2, to wrongly limit or restrict something, such as another person's rights. And of course, when it says here about infringe here, full definition, 1, to encroach upon a way that violates the law or the rights of another, infringe patent. 2, obsolete, defeat, frustrate. Okay, encroach is very similar to that. So, like, related. And some people claim that about licensing, getting licenses for firearms is not an infringement. But this is, I will make that statement later what a license means. But we'll just hit another one here from the lawdictionary.org, which is based from the Black Laws Dictionary, 2nd edition to be exact. And it says here, what is infringement? Break into, a trespass or encroachment upon, a violation of law, regulation, contract, or right, used especially of invasions of the rights secured by patents, copyrights, and trademarks. So just give you a few examples. So right there is encroachment, trespass, violation of the law. So how a license not an infringement? It is, as far as I'm concerned, because I know I'm repeating myself, but this is how you gotta how you have to look at these things. So, and here's another one. Came from the Universal Etymological English Dictionary. It's coming from the 18th century, and it tells you what infringement means. Infringe, which it means to break a law, custom, or privilege. Okay, and this is from page 488 of that site, which is from archive.org. So I'm definitely going to add that link to it as well. This is from the 18th century language. What infringe means, or infringement, of course, violation and breach. Hey, breach, there you go. That's infringement and infringe. So it break a law, all right? And so how is that, so like I say now about a license. Well, what a license is, under the lawdictionary.org, which is from the Black Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, a license is, in the law of contracts, a permission accorded by a competent authority conferring the right to do some act without such authorization would be illegal or would be a trespass or a tort. And it tells you the list about certain cases of what a license is. So I want to know this for a fact. Is they say, I'm a gun owner and we should be licensed. I support licensing. You know what? That means you're gonna sell your right and buy it as a privilege. And this is why I get a little bit skeptic. And when people use this rhetoric, whether it's on a podcast, sometimes some alternative radio shows, mainstream radio shows, don't matter, podcasting radio shows, and people's rhetoric, and they get upset when I give them my views on it, and they glamour it on their Facebook and don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right, and it always says here too in the bottom, international law, permission granted by a belligerent state to its own subjects or subjects and enemies. That's no big deal, but it's all right there. So I'm gonna definitely want to add that to it, what a license means. And what's interesting about a license, because people say, "Oh yeah, they're here to take our guns, and it's not gonna happen." And other people say it's not gonna happen. But you know what? Here's the thing: I'm not gonna be going gun crazy and being paranoid what Washington's doing. But you have to always pay attention. This is why we got the 10th Amendment as well. And this is what interesting of a history of licensing can do, according to the JPFO.org, or the JPFO chart. And it's lots and lots of stuff here about hatred, government, disarmed civilians equals genocide. And we can look at here about what licensing can do and happens during the 20th century in Ottoman Turkey, which from 1915 to 1917, Armenians were the targets, mostly Christians, 1 to 1.5 million. He had some gun control laws before this happened. Article 66, Penal Code 1866 and 1911. Proclamation 1915. And it says here, permits required, government list of owners, ban on possession. Soviet Union, 1929 and 1945. Political apartments, farming communities, 20 million. The F Codes of Revolution 1918 Decree, July 12, 1920. Article 50, 59 and 82, Pen Code 1926. What does it mean? Licensing of owners, ban of possessions, and severe penalties. And it can go on and on and on. I get this whole big list. Just giving you a couple of examples. And if I do one more, I'm going to bypass the one in Nazi Germany, which is okay. But it says here, by nationalist China, 1927 and 1949. Political opponents, army conscripts others. 10 million were slaughtered by the regime of Chiang Kai-shek. All right, Article 205, Criminal Code 1915. Articles 186 to 187, Criminal Code from 1935. Government permit system, ban on private ownership. And of course, we all know too that Mao Tse-tung, when he got into power, took advantage of it, and he slaughtered 20 to 35 million people. It's interesting what they did with Red China happened around 1949, 1952, 1957, and 1960, 1966 to 1976. And there's actual articles too. Act of February 20th, 1951, and Act of October 22nd, 1957. And what their results, prison or death to counter-revolutionary criminals and anyone resisting any government program, death penalty for supplying guns to such criminals. So even though people say, well, Mao did the ban on gun owners, private ownership, in reality his predecessor and enemy, Chiang Kai-shek, did it, and he just implemented it along the way. So this list goes on. There's other things that happen in Rwanda, Cambodia. You can really look this up for yourself. This is why when it comes to licensing, you gotta be very observant on this. And I am proud to be against licensing firearm owners. And of course, driver license, all that. Oh, how about the driver's license? You know why? We are being conditioned like Pavlov's dogs. And this is why I tell about these licensing does not supersede the 9th Amendment. And one moment. The 9th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And some people get offended by that. And let's just read the 9th, shall we? An overview of the 9th Amendment. And as it says here, from the same group, from constitution.laws.com. And it says here, 9th Amendment, rights of the people that are not specifically enumerated in the United States Constitution. Whereas the 9th Amendment, the enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed or denied or disparaged, others retained by the people. The 9th Amendment defined. The 9th Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution to the framework to elucidate upon the freedom of the individual. The Bill of Rights were proposed and sent to the states by the first session of Congress. They were later ratified on December 15th, 1791. I'm going to be repeating myself, but I'm not. First amendments to the United States Constitution were introduced by James Madison as a series of legislative articles as came into effect as constitutional amendments following the process of ratification by the 3/4 of the United States and states on December 15, 1791. Stipulations of the 9th Amendment. The 9th Amendment is regarded by the court system of the United States is negated. Any expansion of government authority on account of the rights expressed in the United States Constitution. That being said, the amendment is not regarded as a further limiting governmental power. Amendments 1 though 8 through 8, the United States Constitution address the limits and means by which the federal government can exercise its award power, while then the 9th Amendment creates settlement rights that are not awarded to the government. So right there is like natural law. And here's a good case of the 9th Amendment. It says here, in Barron versus Baltimore, the Supreme Court states that provisions outlined in the 9th Amendment were only enforceable by the federal court system against the federal government and not allowable against any state body. As a result, the Ninth Amendment is only applicable to the federal government, which by definition is a government of enumerated powers. That being said, from jurists have viewed that the Ninth Amendment is relevant for interpretation in regards to the 14th Amendment, which I did my view on that a while back, so you can see it, you can listen to it about the Ninth Amendment is null and void, but I will continue on here. Some jurists believe the Ninth Amendment was created to constitute an independent source of undeniable rights, which are protected from infringement by either state or federal government. It has the same thing about the ratification of the Bill of Rights. So right there, they're considered inalienable rights, natural born or God-given rights, whatever your views are. So this is why I'm against licensing. This is why they try to say common sense gun laws or common sense laws. You have to read between the lines. When they use that rhetoric, it's trying to get you be the bone fetcher. Alright, this is what they do. Toss that bone and see if you get it. Because many people, they'll just get it and run and grab it, hook, line, and sinker. Like a fish get caught with a nice juicy worm, which is nothing more than a jelly bean. If you know what I'm saying. So that is why you always have to examine. That's what I always tell people, like the First Amendment and Ninth Amendment go hand in hand. Second Amendment, first 8 amendments, they go hand in hand with the Ninth. Okay, so this is why I use that. Some people don't like it, and you know what? I really don't give a damn what they think. I just find this very intriguing. If people get offended, so what? You're not going to tell me what to do because some folks don't know how are irresponsible, and you're going to assume that we're all the same. No, I'm not some drone or clone. I'm a freedom-loving, sovereign-thinking individual, and I have no regrets of what I'm saying about this. This is why I am pro-Bill of Rights, not just the Second Amendment. Pro-freedom for everybody. This is why I always observe things into a bigger picture. And what's funny, you hear about there's a claim that 30,000 people will die by firearms allegedly or accidental and so forth. You know what? 2.5 million average use it to defend themselves, their families, and loved ones. So the question is, what odds do you prefer? And I'm not saying I condone firearms or crime. It doesn't. It's a difference. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. It has nothing to do with our Bill of Rights culture. Violating others is unacceptable. And you don't tell me I don't think about this? Hell yeah, I do. And some good folks got killed. Violent crime as a whole is unacceptable. I think this is why I get a little bit touchy on these areas. It's not being a gun-toting maniac or right-wing Christian. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. They got to look at everything into the bigger picture. This is why a person like myself has to stay consistent. People need to look at psychotropic drugs, SSRI cases. But, well, one thing for sure, my friends, you always have to observe responsibly. Let me just see here. Yeah, I might just do one more. I'm going to do one more. Here. It's by Alan Coren, who is a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. He had an article came out yesterday. It's called "The Method for Stopping Shooting Rampages Emerges." And said by Alan Coren, who's the uninvited ombudsman. It was interesting because there's a lot of controversy with him trying to buy up merge with JPFO. And I know Aaron Zellman and him may have his battles. They think differently, but I know they have a lot in common as well. However, Aaron Zellman was keen. I always respected him, and I talked to him one time, just made about change of address, and I knew he was a real deal, man. Real gentleman, and like I said, I was morose for a couple of days when he passed. When I found out, 2 weeks after he died, I found out about it, and I'm like, wow, lost touch. But let's just see what he has to say about this. It says here, hard evidence, no doctored theories, news commentary, conjectures, hyperbole, rumors, innuendo, or any other proposals clearly shows that the only known way to actually stop spree murders is to shoot them or scare them into shooting themselves. Time and again, society has found this works. According to the evidence, every mass murder in recent times has been halted in the final analysis by the shooting the murderers or threatening to shoot them with guns. Members of the press corps continue to debate the subject despite the evidence. Sources speaking privately say the media consciously reject this fact. In stark contrast, self-defense incidents using guns are suppressed by news media policy and do not appear on the public stage. He did an excellent write-up about censorship of firearms using self-defense. Appears here, which is from WarNet Daily on their U.S. ad campaign. And of course, here on the Daily Caller, it says here USA Today won't publish good gun news. As authored by Alan Coren. So I will continue on here. Multiple reports of self-defense accomplished by shooting criminals appeared as page based in USA Today, which otherwise censors such reports. It's from the link gunlaws.com/the first responder report HTM, so you can look that up yourself. You have to paste it. It says here, although knowledgeable commentators are still debating the merits of shooting murderers, the visible evidence clearly demonstrates that shooting the perpetrators does not take care of the problem. No other solutions have worked. The only problem identified is the relative slowness of this effective remedy, due mainly to the delay in getting guns to the scene where innocent victims are assaulted. The scenes have virtually always been in supposed gun-free zones, which posted signs flatly rejected by the perpetrators. President Barack Hussein Obama, whose middle name is not supposed to be used, went on national TV twice in the past week to propose other solutions he announced as politicized. He promised to continue talking. Further analysis conducted by uninvited ombudsman has determined that background checks or newly proposed additional background checks recommended by Mr. Obama and others would be pointless for people who already own guns, since they already own guns. Best estimate indicates that it's about 100 million armed Americans. Yeah, it's a lot there. And in other analysis conducted by the uninvited ombudsman, waiting periods have no meaning whatsoever for Americans who already own guns until they go shopping for guns. Since they already own guns, that is almost 100 million Americans. Waiting periods have one additional drawback overlooked in mainstream reports. They require the public to trust psychotic individuals who wait 5 days to get their first gun to remain calm for the balance of their lives. Somehow the 5-day waiting period doesn't seem like a long enough cooling off period, but this has not made it into nightly news reports or president commentaries for a reason that was unclear at press time. The murderer in Oregon, who sparked the recent repetitive debates, owned more than a dozen guns, according to early reports. Yep, according to early reports, all legally acquired. While Hillary, Mr. Obama, and others are still calling for more background checks, they have apparently failed to notice these obvious errors in their plan. Only new or virgin gun buyers would be affected. Most of them would pass checks anyway, according to the leading experts in past experience. A point of adding even more checks when current checks are not used to take criminals off the streets was not clear that as this report was prepared for release. News commentators have also failed to make this connection so far and have repeated the call from politicians on both sides of the aisle who are discussing background checks, and waiting periods. The role of the ultra-body rending video games, horrific, grisly blood and all gore movies on nightly TV, and the debasement of American popular American culture at every level has not figured prominently into the president's prolific pronouncements. The public, not so famous vile the gun lobby, rises up loudly to condemn the assault on their fundamental civil and human rights. It is the same 100 million armed Americans mentioned earlier. Some reports suggest there's only 80 million armed Americans. The NRA often cite as the gun lobby has only 5 million members. Counterintuitive man says, counterintuitive man says, referring to murderers as gunmen is offensive to men, a violation of journalism ethics due to its bias and prejudicial nature and sexist. Calling murderers gunmen is virtually propaganda against men and firearms. It degenerates men, is derogatory, defamatory, and is discriminatory. What would media and pundits say if a woman was a criminal perpetrator? The correct terms like murderer, killer, villain, criminal, assailant, and perpetrator without graciously singling out gender. By using the propaganda term gunman, the media vilifies a tool they frequently demonstrate hatred for along with men, which agenda-driven political groups seek to demean or belittle. That's simply wrong and unethical. Murderers should be called murderers, not gunmen. This would help remove the glorification many mass murderers seek, which encourages others to copy their behavior. By encouraging such behavior, media shares responsibility for these acts, according to the leading national experts who are speaking out against such behavior in increasing numbers. It's about Alan Coren. He has a thing called Alan@gunlaws.com, and he has a postscript here. My previous request to the president, I have called him for calling me for common sense solutions. He is not getting from his side of the aisle. Has gone unanswered so far. I patiently await. The ideas coming from the TV set are so off base, it is hard to imagine they are actually on the air. Has anyone considered education in the schools yet? Schools are currently an empty hole of ignorance on the subject. Yep, I cannot disagree with Mr. Coren on that. This is why firearm-free zones don't work. Self-defense is righteous regardless of your race, color, creed, gender, etc. And we always got to look at the fine lines of the news media, especially mainstream and sometimes alternative. Always observe responsibly. Don't jump on the hype. Don't be the Pavlov's dog. When the bell rings, you be drooling and manifest what they're telling you. A lot of rhetorical deceptions in this particular entity. This is why you have to start doing your own homework, your research, and share this with others. We all have duties. And this is why I always explain myself in good faith in these areas. So I try to combine everything I can to let you folks make the decisions for yourself. But the whole thing is, you are the first line of defense. And the police, respectfully, aren't obligated to protect an individual. I always harp it. I think I will keep on doing it every time. But I'm saying this all out of homage. So that is why I get real touchy in a lot of areas. But I always try to stand on my principles as well. And hope everyone can do the same. Alright, that is all for now. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, love letters, hate letters, criticisms, recommendations, or other words, sending me information that I can find interesting, you can always send it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, or send your comments to iHeartRadio. In addition, YouTube. Or you can email me at lokiluck3@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.